page and there's a link that says video, then you can see the texture song that we sing in class. Okay, so I'm going to go first and then you. So Mike will do it with you. Let's see. A texture.
A texture.
Is the way something feels.
Is the way something feels.
The way something feels.
The way something feels.
Is a texture.
Is a texture.
Rough.
Rough.
Smooth.
Smooth.
Soft.
Soft.
Hard.
Hard.
Humpy.
Huh?
Humpy.
What?
Humpy.
Humpy.
Lumpy.
Lumpy.
Bumpy.
Bumpy.
Okay, now we're going to try to do it together. Here we go. You ready?
I don't know.
Okay. 1, 2, here we go. A texture.
A texture.
Is the way something feels.
Is the way something feels.
The way something feels.
The way something feels.
Is a texture.
Is a texture.
Rough.
Rough.
Smooth.
Smooth.
Soft. Hard.
Ow.
Humpy.
Humpy.
Lumpy.
Lumpy.
Bumpy.
Bumpy.
Okay, good job. So, we're reviewing textures because we're going to be using textures in our lesson today. And the new thing we're learning about is we're going to be learning about several new things, okay? So, but first, okay.
I washed my hair.
All right, that's nice. Mike washed his hair. No, he did not wash his hair. I tried to style it because it's really a George Washington wig, and I tried to make it look like it originally looked, but it didn't really work. So
I'm friends with Ben Franklin.
okay. So today we're going to be learning about the artist Max Ernst. And Max Ernst is no longer alive. He was, and he still is, a famous surrealist artist. Now, what surrealist artists do is they make pictures that are dreamlike. They look like they couldn't exist. A famous surrealist artist is Salvador Dali, and a lot of you may have seen him in his images of the melting clocks. Well, Max Ernst was famous along with Salvador Dali. He was doing surrealist artwork, but he also invented this technique called frottage. And it is where you use textures in your artwork. So we're going to be doing artwork in the style of Max Ernst. Who is it?
Max Ernst.
And what type of artist was he?
Surrealist artist.
A surrealist. But he also made these texture rubbings, which are called frottage. And I'm going to read you the definition of frottage. It's from France. It's a French word that means frotter or to rub. So when we do texture rubbings, we're doing frottage. And it was a creative process developed by Max Ernst. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is Mike and I are going to have a little challenge. And we're going to look around the house for different items that have textures. We're looking for different textures, okay? So, here we go. Mike, do you know what we're doing? He's not even paying attention. Mike.
She's got texture.
What is the challenge? Okay, but wait a minute. You have to find small items that have a texture that you can put under a paper to rub to do the frottage. We are not using dogs. She does have a nice texture, Mike, but that is not
okay.
What I had in mind. Okay, so everybody, we're looking for textures around the house. Okay, so Mike and I went around and looked for textures, and Mike started following me around the house because he said he really didn't know what to do. Because I really don't think he was listening when I was talking.
I was listening.
So, I'm going to review. A texture is the way something feels. And everything in the world on this earth has a texture. Okay, if everybody rubs your hair and feels how your hair feels, and rub your shirt, and your arm, and the table, everything has a texture. Okay? Okay?
Yes, texture has everything.
Okay, so everything has a texture. And then Mike and I were doing a challenge to go around the house and look for textures. Okay? We're looking for textures. So now we're going to share our textures. First, I'm going to show you what I found. This is a metal hot plate, a brick, a bookend, a coaster, a little metal tin, my wallet, keys, and money. Okay, Mike, what did you find?
I got my balls.
Which I don't know if you were supposed to be able to lay them flat to put paper on top to do a rubbing like Max Ernst. So do you think that will work? All right.
It works for me.
Okay. All right, what else?
I got a coin, and I thought the side of it can make some texture if I
All
rub
right,
it.
that's good, that's good.
And I got a pen that I can put holes in the paper to give it some texture. And then I got some magnets, but only because they're cool.
Okay, what else? Speed it up, Mike, speed it up. These kids don't have all day.
Some pepper in case I want to sneeze. And then I found this. I'm not really sure what it is. Yeah. I love you.
Okay. So, now what we're going to do is we are going to place our textures under our paper and rub on top of them. Okay? We're just exploring different textures and getting used to how to do the rubbing process. Okay, time's up.
Look, magic.
Okay, so, Mike did not do this properly. When he said he was going to use pepper, I thought maybe he would put it on the table first and then rub on top of it instead of just putting texture on top to make it, I don't know what. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so, I don't know, Mike has a mess to clean up. Okay, so, here is my example where I'm just trying to figure out the rubbings, okay? I've taken different items from around the house and I've made texture rubbings, which is also called frottage, okay? So, Max Ernst, the surrealist, invented this, texture rubbing frottage, okay? So, now I'm going to start talking about our lesson for today and how we're going to use this, okay? The media or materials we're going to use is going to be paper and pencils for the piece of artwork. Now, you can use crayons if you want to, but I am just assuming that everyone has paper and pencils, and I don't know who has crayons at home because I know some people might not. I had to go borrow some from our 14-year-old and I didn't even know if he had any anymore, but luckily he did because all my art supplies are pretty much in the art room. Okay, so that is what we're going to do. We're going to be using this process okay, this lesson.
Yes.
If you were going to teach someone about frottage, how would you explain frottage?
Frottage? that's a funny name or a funny word, and I would say it says frottage, and it has to do with texture and putting things under paper, not on top of the paper, under the paper. That has different.
Okay, who invented it?
Ernst.
Okay, good job. Okay, so he knows.
I know
He knows
more than
that.
she thinks I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you were going to teach someone about Earth Day,
Yes, I would tell them that it was April 22nd, and it was started in the year 1970, which is a little bit after the Revolution, George Washington. And
were you alive?
in 1970, well, in 1776, I got America independence. So yeah, I was alive. And also, to teach the kids how good the environment and the earth is. So happy Earth Day on April 22nd, born 1970, and in real time, that's a year before I was born.
Okay, so, we're learning a lot today. We're also going to learn about art-related jobs. So I'm going to start by naming one art-related job, and then Mike's going to name an art-related job. And Mike, you have to go fast. You have to be able to think faster. In general, you're too slow and it makes my videos too long, okay? So, the first art-related job I'm going to say is an architect. What is an architect?
An architect is someone who designs and builds buildings.
Okay, correct. An architect draws the plans for buildings and homes. Good job. Ding, ding, ding. Now you say one and let me.
Art teacher. What is an art teacher?
An art teacher teaches art. Basically, we teach the elements and principles of design, which is line, shape, color, space, value, rhythm, movement, form, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, I'm going to name one, which is a video editor. What is a video editor?
A video editor is someone who edits videos.
Okay, good. Now you name one.
An art helper. No, I'm just kidding. How about a graphic designer?
Ding, 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 ding. A graphic designer is someone who makes advertisements, they do business cards, they do layouts for magazines, but that's what we're focusing on today. We're focusing on graphic designers because we're going to use Max Ernst's process, frottage, and we're going to use that to make a poster for Earth Day. Now, I'm going to show you the first poster that was made. This was the first poster for Earth Day that was made in 1970. And you can see it's a landscape, and a landscape is a picture of the land, okay? You can see it has a horizon line, okay? Everybody say, a landscape.
A landscape
Is a picture of the land.
is a picture of the land.
A picture of the land
A picture of the land
is a landscape.
is a landscape.
Okay. All right, did you want to? Hey, welcome back to art. Last week we did the printmaking process mono printing, and we were using things from nature, flowers, weeds, grass to make a mono print, and we made functional art, and our designs were asymmetrical. This week we're going to be learning about the artist Max Ernst. We're going to be learning about the art process frottage, and we're going to be talking about Earth Day, and we're going to be reviewing texture. Now, Miss Ford, Miss Green, and I got together on the phone and text and email because we're social distancing, and we decided we're going to do Earth Day in art and science. They're going to be different projects, but we're both going to focus on Earth Day since Earth Day is April 22nd. Now, the first day Earth Day was celebrated was in 1970, And a governor in Wisconsin came up with Earth Day because he wanted to teach children about the environment and taking care of the earth. And this is actually the first poster for Earth Day. Now, someone who designs posters and advertisements, business cards, greeting cards, they are graphic designers. So now a lot of the graphic design is done on computers. So we're learning about the art-related job, graphic design, which if you're interested in the arts, that might be a job that you might like to look into or pursue. So if we look at the poster from Earth Day in 1970, we see it as a landscape. And we've talked about landscapes in art before. We know a landscape is a picture of the land. And this is the horizon line right here. And we know the horizon line separates the earth from the sky. Now, if we also look at this picture, we know that it is basically a monochromatic color scheme, but they also used black. But they used light, medium, and dark green. So that is monochromatic. We have a horizon line or a horizontal line. The tree is vertical. If you look really close in the background, you can see little faint diagonal lines. And they used repetition, or they repeated the leaf shape on the tree, okay? So today, we're gonna make a little poster for Earth Day. We're gonna be using texture, and we're gonna be learning about the artist Max Ernst and footage. Okay, here we go. Okay, first I wanna start by reviewing texture. We all know texture is the way something feels. It's on everything. My kitchen, my dining room table, or this is really my art room where I make art. This table has a texture, my shirt has a texture, my hat, my hair, my skin, everything you touch has a texture. Now, Max Ernst was a surrealist artist, which means his art was fantasy and dreamlike, make-believe. He made up things that really weren't realistic. They were like crazy abstract. And he invented this art process called frottage, and it's a French word, and I may be saying it wrong, I'm not very sure, but it's frottage, and it's the French word which is frotter, which means to rub. So in art class, we have done texture rubbings before, where you take a product, an item, something that you have found. This is a hot plate from my kitchen. It's what you put things that come out of the oven that are hot, you put it on this. And so if you take your pencil and you rub on top, you can see that's a texture rubbing, or Max Ernst called it frottage. Okay, and so that's what we're gonna do today, okay? So, okay, now I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna give you two options, two choices. You can do either one, or you can do both, okay? Now I'm gonna zoom in on the paper so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm gonna use Sharpie so you can see what I'm doing, but I would like for you to start with pencil, just so if you mess up you can erase. I would prefer to use pencil too, but it's not showing up on the video, okay? Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna start by finding something round that you have. I'm just using a piece of printer paper from the computer. You can use notebook paper, any type of paper, recycled paper. You can work on the back of something. You can use an envelope from mail, anything you have, okay? So I'm gonna start by drawing a circle. And I drew that kind of at the top of the page. And that's gonna be the tree. So I'm gonna recreate the poster from the first Earth Day in 1970, but we're gonna use frottage like Max Ernst, okay? Now I'm gonna draw a horizon line. We know horizontal lines like to lay down. Now I'm gonna draw two vertical lines for the tree. Okay, and that's all I'm gonna do right now with my pencil, because we're gonna start doing the texture part, okay? So we have the horizon line, and the horizon line separates the earth from the sky, and we have the circle for the tree and the two vertical lines for the base of the tree. Okay, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna look around your house for a variety of textures, okay? I have a brick, I have a hot plate, I have some coins and keys, I have a little tin, I have a coaster, here's an old Valentine paper. Okay, now what you're gonna do, and you can either do this with pencil or crayon. I'm gonna show you an example with both, okay? And I'm just gonna use crayon because it will show up. Now, if you choose to use crayon, why don't you go with the colors, you can either do the cool colors, only using blue and green, or you can do monochromatic, like all green, because it's Earth Day, okay? So, what you're gonna do is you're going to take your texture, you're gonna place it under your paper, where you wanna color, and then you're gonna bear down and rub. Okay, and now here's a coin I'm gonna put under here, and I'm gonna rub. Okay. Okay, so I'm getting textures on my paper. Let's see, we can do another one with the brick. Okay, now, so I use crayon so you can see what I'm doing, but I prefer to use pencil because it is more like Max Ernst artwork, the artist we're learning about, okay? You can see there's textures everywhere, okay? So then what you can do is you can add words to make your artwork like a graphic designer. So I wrote Earth Day 2020 over and over again on this side. So that kind of balances the artwork because the tree makes you want to look over here because it's so dark and it draws your eye over here, and then I put something interesting in the background over here. Okay, so this is one project you can do. If your first choice to be is to make an advertisement for Earth Day, okay? Including some sort of landscape using texture, rubbings, and footage. Okay, that's the first option. Now, the second option is if you take a piece of paper and you trace the circle, and I really do think pencil works better to get all of the textures because it's more like Max Ernst. So I'm just gonna draw harder this time so you can see with the textures. Okay, so now I've traced a bowl in the middle of my paper, and this is gonna be like a representation of the Earth since it is Earth Day. Okay, now what you wanna do is you wanna find your texture. Whoa, those are Mike's magnets. Put it under your paper, and you don't wanna hold your pencil like this when you're doing a rubbing. You want to hold it at an angle. Okay, so I have made my earth using a texture rubbing, okay? Now, the next thing you're gonna do is you're going to take a scrap piece of paper, and I'm using this piece of paper when Michael and I were having our challenge looking around the house for different textures, and you're going to, in one area, take your pencil and really, really color a dark spot, because what you're doing is you're taking the graphite and you're transferring the graphite from your pencil to this. Okay, and then you're going to rub your finger on there, and then you're going to transfer like a little fingerprint all the way around the earth. I think you're going to have to go back and add more graphite. Okay, so you can see how I put fingerprints all the way around my earth, okay? Now, I'm gonna try to get closer for you, okay? Okay, so I drew a circle with the bowl. I drew the circle with the bowl, then I put a texture under and rubbed with the side of my pencil. Then I took the pencil graphite and rubbed it on the paper, and then took my finger, and when you put your finger down, you kind of have to move it back and forth to transfer your fingerprint, and your fingerprint also has a texture. Now, this is a real texture, which means you can feel it. You can feel it. That's a real texture. My table has a real texture too. It has bumps and humps and all kind of marks on it, okay? But when you're making a texture on a piece of paper, that's called an implied texture. It's not real. I can't really feel this texture, okay? But it looks like a texture. Okay, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at these little circles, and you're going to turn these circles into animals or trees, things that live on the earth, since we're celebrating Earth Day.
Hello.
Okay, so this is my art project. I took the bowl and traced a circle, and then I put a texture underneath and did a texture rubbing, which is also called a frottage, the process that Max Ernst used. And then I took my fingerprint and made little fingerprints around the earth. And then I added little animals and trees around the earth to celebrate Earth Day. Okay, so this is my piece of Earth Day art. And I want to show you something very cool. If you look at the word Earth Day, well, the two words Earth Day. Okay, it says Earth Day, and Earth has the word art in it. Okay. Okay, so today we're making art inspired by the artist Max Ernst. We are reviewing texture and using texture, and we're doing the process called frottage. The material media, and media is another word, supplies that we're using. We're using paper and pencil. If you want to, you can also use crayons. You could also use colored pencil. You could also use a black marker to add detail if you wanted to outline your earth and add special detail to your little animals with a really fine tip black marker. Just use whatever you have and have fun. I look forward to seeing all your artwork. Please upload it in the Dropbox or share it on Facebook under this lesson post in the comments, or share it on Instagram with the hashtag Grayson Elementary School Art. Okay, I look forward to seeing all your great Earth Day texture projects. Have a great week, and we'll be back next Monday. Okay, Mike, tell us what is texture, an example of texture.
Oh, I got a good example of texture. The circle of poop. And the reason the circle of poop demonstrates all forms of texture is just like that tree and the rings and how old it is. When it comes fresh off the press, it is soft. I'm talking out of them. Soft and smooth and mushy. And then as time progresses, it becomes hard and rough, but always wear your gloves. But that is my example of rough and smooth, the circle of poop. Earth. I love the earth. And
Good.